The day started like any other day in chemistry history class at Fradian University of Sciences. Most of the students there have aspirations to become well-known analytical chemists, chemical engineers, toxicologists, forensic scientists, materials scientists, educators, as well as delve into other industries once they graduate from the prestigious university. Many of the students' parents are very wealthy, rich beyond any definition of the word. However, a small few of the financially compromised, the poor students, were able to get into the university by scholarships awarded to them because of their brilliance in spite of financial hardships. Professor James Bright stood at the front of the class going over another long-winded lesson about the history of chemistry. He cleared his throat and spoke. Chemistry's roots stretch back to ancient civilizations with practical arts like metallurgy and fermentation before 1000 BC, but it became a true science in the 18th century with Antoine Lavoisier, often called the father of modern chemistry, and others who introduced systematic experimentation, gas studies by Priestley, and the law of mass conservation, moving it from alchemy to a quantitative discipline with John Dalton's atomic theory solidifying its foundation in the early 1800s. He paused and looked around at his class of students and smiled. But I have skipped over thousands and thousands of years, so let us begin at the very beginning. The class of students watched the professor with the same level of excitement as they would in reading a boring section of an outdated newspaper article about the various ways to watch drying paint. The class was boring to some of the students, but they kept awake. Professor James spoke up, also, "What I teach today will be a part of your midterm exams, so it is best that each and every one of you pay close attention and take notes." Several of the students visibly sat up straighter in their chairs to pay attention better. Just as the professor was about to speak more on the history of chemistry, the classroom door creaked open so loudly that everyone turned their heads to see whom it was to cause such a loud disruption. Mei Ling cursed the door under her breath as its loud creak noise brought unwanted attention to her. She stepped into the class and several shocked gasps could be heard from the students. Professor James's chemistry lesson stopped as he also gasped. His eyes stared at the woman that walked into the classroom. Mei Ling wore a one-piece blue swimming suit, which clung to her body as if it were her skin. Her female form was visible for all to see. Her dark hair cascaded over her shoulders. She walked down the long aisle of the classroom as if it was the most natural thing in the world to do, holding back any shame and embarrassment of being incongruously dressed in the room. Everyone stared at her. Some people whispered, "Why is she wearing that?" And another person said, "Is she crazy? It is too cold outside to wear a swimming suit." After a few more seconds, more murmurs were whispered throughout the class. Professor James was so stunned that he became tongue-tied. Excuse me Mrs. You can't dress incongruously in this classroom. You need to leave. Your attire is very inappropriate." He spoke firmly while also observing her lovely body discreetly. Mei Ling continued to walk down the aisle while searching for any empty seat. "Professor, I am a student in this classroom and am supposed to be here. I apologize for being late, but I really need to learn this class lesson." She spoke humbly to him. Although she knew her swimming suit is very incongruent, it was not as important as learning what she needed to learn from the professor. The students in class began to laugh. The laughter started out as low giggles and grew. One boy said, "Maybe I should wear my Speedo to class and get extra credit from the teacher." The class laughed. Mei Ling did her best to not pay any attention to the growing conversations and laughter in the classroom. Finally she found a seat and sat down. The wooden chair felt cold to her body. Her bare feet slid beneath the desk. Briefly, she wrapped her arms around her body. Jessica watched from a few desks down as a mischievous smile spread across her lips. She disliked Mei Ling and normally bullied her as regularly as she could. "Mei Ling, you are so incongruously dressed. Maybe you dress in a swimming suit because you are so poor?" Chuckled along with her group of rich friends. She continued. "Professor James, I think poor students don't need to be at this university. Clearly Mei Ling does not belong here." She flipped her blonde hair over a shoulder in one fluid shallow movement. Jessica's blue eyes stared with amusement at Mei Ling, believing that this latest prank she pulled on the woman would ultimately break her. Mei Ling looked to Jessica with a confused expression. She did not understand why the woman constantly picked on her for the last several months. She had transferred to the university from a community college. According to the dean of her old college, Mei Ling is a genius excelling in many subjects involving chemistry and various sciences. She was at the very top 1% of her class and references from influential teachers had been written for her. True, Mei Ling's family is very poor, but her parents always encouraged her to not let their financial circumstances keep her from learning as much as she possibly could in school. As a result, Mei Ling always had confidence in her academic potential in any science or chemistry class. It did not take long for educators and other universities to notice. She had been awarded 2 scholarships from Fradian University, which included free room and board, free meals at the university cafeteria, and a monthly stipend of $500. The scholarship pays for all of her classes and books. Her parents were very proud of her for being accepted at Fradian University and receiving the scholarships. Her gaze lingered on Jessica as she did suspected the woman had something to do with all of the clothes from her dorm room being gone, except for one blue swimming suit. "Why are you staring at me, poor Mei Ling?" Jessica's voice cut through the classroom like a bell. Mei Ling blinked a few times, having not realized she had been staring at her, but shyly spoke up. "Did you? Is it your fault that I am incongruously dressed in this class? Did you take all of my clothes?" She asked loud enough, but clearly hesitantly. The stares of all the students was very distracting. Briefly she looked towards the professor whom was busy writing something down on a piece of paper. Maybe it was an incident report since he had told her to leave the class just moments prior, but she hadn't as her determination to remain in class was evident. Jessica laughed. "Mei Ling, why would I have anything to do with your lack of clothing? The incongruous way you are dressed, or the lack thereof, is very inappropriate, indecent and slutty. It is not my fault that you are just too poor to afford clothes. Don't blame your poverty on me." She laughed haughtily. Some of the class of students laughed too and loved the brief respite of not having to sit through another boring chemistry lecture. The conflict of what was happening to Mei Ling became entertainment for them. Mei Ling's face blushed with sudden embarrassment from the harsh words of Jessica. It was not her fault that she had nothing else to wear but the swimming suit. The laughter of the other students made her body tense up with the heightened awareness that what she is wearing exposes too much of her skin. Of course she had already known this, but hoped other people would not make such a big issue out of it. However, Jessica's words drew more attention to her than she had hoped. Some of the men in class gazes had lingered on her longer than she wished. Internally Mei Ling started to feel herself shrink. Part of her wanted to get up and just run out of the classroom now and forget about learning today's lesson. The professor was not teaching right now anyway. The other part of her knew that getting up from the wooden chair would expose her body even more. At least sitting at the desk helped to cover her bit. As the laughter of the class echoed in her head, she looked to Jessica again and could not understand the cruelty this woman had towards her. Jessica smiled. "You see? Even the class agrees with me, Mei Ling. You don't belong amongst us. You're too poor. She laughed again and felt powerful while making Mei Ling feel smaller. Suddenly the door burst open. I have evidence. The voice echoed as Rebecca, Mei Ling's friend, walked down the classroom aisle confidently. Along with her were 2 security guards as well as the dean of the school, she repeated as she walked through the room holding up a video camera. I have evidence, Mei Ling, of what Jessica did to you. She stole your clothes and threw all of them into a trash can, then took the trash can from your room. My camera recorded everything. I was so tired of hearing about Jessica's constant bullying of you for all these months, so I set up a security camera in your dorm room after hearing a rumor from her friends that Jessica was going to steal your clothes. I wanted to make sure we caught her doing it on camera so that there would be undeniable proof of her theft and lies. The laughter of the other students had ceased as they listened in on the information that Rebecca eagerly spoke. Jessica gasped and the expression on her face turned to shock. What? I did not steal that poor woman's clothes. Rebecca, you are just as poor as Mei Ling. How could you even afford a camera in the first place? Rebecca smirked. Just because someone is poor does not give you the right to bully them. She looked to Mei Ling, now realizing that her friend is only wearing a swimming suit. Mei Ling, this is not your fault. I understand why you are dressed incongruously in this classroom. She pointed an accusatory finger at Jessica. It is her fault that you are not presentable today. I also showed the footage to the dean of the school of your theft, Jessica. Your lies can't get you out of this one. Mei Ling looked to Jessica with some satisfaction in knowing that Jessica will be in trouble for what she has done. Thank you, Rebecca, for all of your help. Jessica, karma has caught up to you because of your bad behavior. Mei Ling softly smiled. Professor James finally said something as he sees the dean walking into his classroom. Dean Anderson. I was writing an incident letter to you about the incongruous way that Mei Ling is dressed in my class. Thankfully there is also security guards here to escort Mei Ling out of this room since she refused to leave when I initially told her to. His eyes moved to Mei Ling again, then to the dean. For a while Dean Anderson said nothing, and then he looked to Mei Ling as well as to Jessica, then to Rebecca for a few seconds. Get that woman out of this classroom. He points directly to Jessica. I have viewed the evidence of her not only stealing clothes from Mei Ling, but also information about other incidents. The stealing of the clothes was not the only thing planned. After an investigation this morning, several of the university football team members confessed that Jessica offered them money to violate Mei Ling's body in the worst type of ways. The classroom of students gasped hearing this information. Dean Anderson then continued. A police investigation will be involved in this too, as I do not tolerate bullying at my university, nor conspiracy to commit nor instigate crimes on my campus. He spoke firmly and loudly. His deep voice echoed throughout the room. All of the students looked at Jessica now with a level of disgust that they did not speak loudly at first. A girl in the back of the class yelled out, "Throw Jessica in jail." She repeated this until it became a chant repeated by most of the students in the classroom. Throw Jessica in jail. Throw Jessica in jail. The chant grew louder and vibrated throughout the halls of the university. Dean Anderson says to the guards, "Get Jessica out of here. Take her to my office." Jessica jumps up and screams with rage as security guards flank her, grabbing her by the arms while she shouts, "Rebecca, bitch! I will get someone to kick your ass. How dare you get me in trouble? My parents are the richest people in this school and my daddy will hear about all of this." I will make sure that if I get in trouble then you both will be dragged down too. I am taking you and the poor ridiculous bitch Mei Ling with me. She growled as her inner ugliness was on full display for the class to see and hear. Her textbooks tumbled to the floor. Please don't resist, lady. One of the security guards said to Jessica as he took hold of her wrists. Let me go, you fucking servants. I will make sure that each of you lose your damn jobs. Let me go. And you, Dean Anderson, my parents contribute generously every year to this school. They won't anymore, and I will make damn sure that they don't. You will get nothing from them ever again. Her face contorted to a horrid expression. She continued to thrash around, trying to get her arms loose from the guards. As they pulled her out of the classroom, her deafening yells and screams could be heard up and down the hallways of the university until they faded. Mei Ling sat there in some astonishment. Everything happened so fast and she had not fully processed it all. Rebecca looked to Mei Ling and said, "We won this one. There is no way that Jessica will ever bully you again." She smiled, and Mei Ling finally also smiled at this revelation. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for all of your help. Dean Anderson listened to the yells of Jessica and did not have any concern about it. He was not afraid of Jessica's parents no longer contributing to the school financially, as he had already acquired other sponsorships and monetary contributions to the school from other sources. He looked to Mei Ling and said, I will also need you and Rebecca to come to my office as well. He pulled off his suit jacket and gave it to Mei Ling to wear out of decency. Put that around yourself until we can find you something less incongruous to wear. He smiled to her and looked to Rebecca. You did a good job doing the recording. Have you ever considered becoming an investigative journalist? Rebecca smiled at the thought. I have considered that as a possible career for myself, Dean. She walked over to Mei Ling and hugged her. I think I have some clothes that you can wear. Mei Ling adjusted the suit jacket as it covered her nicely. It was big on her and the length of it reached the middle part of her thighs. Thank you for the jacket, Dean, and also for your help too. I feel very relieved to not have to deal with Jessica again. Finally, I'll be able to focus more on my ambitions. They continued to talk about things as they left the classroom, full of hope and satisfaction that both of their times at the university will be much easier now that Jessica no longer would be able to bully them.